It's nonsense, and it's infuriating because you think about it, we all know that inauthentic conversation. Hey, how was your weekend? How's the kids? How's the family? The boss comes into your office and you're like, what did I do?
Welcome to the Pursuing Excellence podcast, hosted by Command Standard. I'm Chris Roundtree. I'm here with Justin Atherton from the book, How to Get to the Damn Point. All right. It's an amazing book. Love reading your book. And we're here to talk about the book itself. And I've got a few questions. We're doing an episode called Beyond the Book. And it's where, just because I'm such a nerd, I read through a ton of books. And I have just some questions beyond the book.
Okay.
Some stuff I'd like to talk to you about. I feel like you'll be prepared to answer that. So don't be too nervous about that, which I doubt you are one bit. And real fast, give me, what was the inspiration for writing this book?
It's kind of a dual thing. A lot of the book was written out of frustration. Just seeing a lot of horrible meetings, being a part of a lot of ineffective communication. So a big part was written out of frustration, but I have to give the reason that the book was actually put on paper, that's to my daughter. And that's why the book's dedicated to her. It was a conversation. We were in my truck just coming back from dinner, and my then boss, I was working for the chief of police at that time, calls, and I put it on speakerphone. I didn't think anything of it to have her in the car. She's 14 years old.
I think, did you mention, you mentioned
it's in the dedication. Yeah. And so he's talking to me about, I don't remember the conversation, but multiple topics, circling back, just rambling on. And my daughter's trying to interrupt me, and she's trying to say something. And I'm like, hang on a second. And finally, once my boss is done talking at me, and I use that term on purpose.
I think we know what that means. Yeah.
I hang up the phone and I'm like, hey, what were you trying to tell me? She's like, Dad, that was the most inefficient conversation I've ever heard.
And how old is she at
14.
the time? 14. She knew that at 14 years old?
Yeah. And I just had to laugh because her follow-up was like, when are you going to quit? Yeah. And I'm like, I'm working on it, little girl. And so I started writing the book the very next day. So although I had been writing this book kind of in my head throughout the tail end of my career, that moment with my daughter was the spark. And that's why the book's dedicated.
So that's what you got launched off into, making this book a reality that I'm holding in my hands.
It's a reality.
Awesome. Okay. So I want to just jump into a few things in this book that really stood out to me. So right here, chapter 1, confidence is clarity. If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. That's by Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
Explain to me. Well, I have two kind of things off of this. Just being in the leadership realm myself, and we talk about imposter syndrome and people that are dealing with just not confident in who they are. In fact, a note that I made this morning before I came here, it resonated and popped in my head, was authenticity. Just bringing your true self to the table. And I think people just struggle with that because they're worried they're going to get judged. They believe that people aren't going to accept them for who they are. Or if you make a decision, people aren't going to like me, right? And being in a leadership position, not everybody's going to like you.
No.
Not everybody's going to like the decisions you make. But here's, I guess, what I want to ask is how, it's chapter 1 of your book, how important is confidence, and how does clarity play into building that?
So I've been talking about confidence a lot throughout my I'll say coaching career, because the law enforcement and my coaching business have kind of been along at the same time throughout the last 10 years. And a lot of people ask me, how do you become more confident? And it's not a specific skill set. It's almost like multiple things coming together to exude a level of confidence, right? But what I think is the biggest piece is being able to articulate exactly what you mean, get to the point as quickly as you can. And even if you don't know the answer, say it. But like you said, we have that imposter syndrome, or we're embarrassed that maybe we don't have all the answers. You're not going to please everybody as a leader. You're not going to know everything. If you think that you're the smartest person in the room, or you end up being the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So owning.
Once you get to that point where you know everything, I think it's time to make that next step. It's time to move.
Next step, or maybe you've stopped growing and learning. Yeah. And so clarity leads to a level of confidence in your team as well. Because if I can confidently say, hey, I don't know the answer to that. Let's figure it out. Let's collectively come together and figure out a solution to this because I don't know. Right. And then they're like, oh, okay, the boss can admit that he doesn't know everything. That creates confidence in our team for us.
I think it creates relatability too.
Yes.
Because
you said the authenticity, right?
Yes.
That's a piece of
it. One of the just people want to connect somewhere, right? And when you don't know all the answers, let me say it this way: if you work for a boss that knows all the answers, you never think you're going to get to that level. Yeah. You're never going to get to, hey, I'll be able to do that someday. No, they're perfect. I'm never going to be able to do that. It's just what thought. So when I was an officer and I stepped into the department, my first role, I remember looking at the SWAT commander, SWAT lieutenant at the time, and I thought that guy's confident. He knows what he's doing. There's no way I'll ever be able to make it. There's just no way. I'm just never going to be that. And I find myself 12 years later in that role because of all the things adding together and start building there. Did I do it perfect? And am I always learning? Absolutely. But I did step into that role. I was able to do that. And then I continued to build up as we went through that.
Yeah.
But for people to admit, and one of the best leaders I had was somebody who came in and admitted, hey, we messed this up. And this is how we're going to do it to fix it. So I think that's super important.
Yeah. Owning those failures is a big piece of leadership.
Absolutely. Okay. Chapter 5, you talk about run meetings to build trust. And we talked just briefly about a quick story, but I want to bring into the fold here. I talked to an officer and they were telling me that they worked a midnight shift, got off at, I think, 6 o'clock in the morning, had to be back at 8 o'clock in the morning for a comp stat meeting. And they didn't even get out of there till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And they didn't remember. They don't have a clue what they talked about. It was tiring. In fact, people started yelling at each other. It was just this whole mess. A meeting that runs from 8 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon. Is that a meeting? What are we talking about here? Where are we really at?
And I know you read the book, so you've seen the chapter that talks about that 7-hour command staff meeting. So it's kind of along the same lines.
I thought I was like, are we talking about the same story here?
I think a lot of the times we have meetings because it's a ritual. Mm-hmm. Almost like we think we have to have a meeting, and there's really no end goal. I think I talked about this in more detail in my newsletter recently, but it's like when the clock is the reason the meeting ends instead of achieving a goal, it's like, what was the point of that meeting? It's 5 o'clock. The meeting's over. It's like, so that's why we were in here, to just pretend like we were working all day long, wasting time. Those type of meetings that I was in early on, being new to the command staff role, I'm thinking, okay, we're going to, decide some great things, like go over budget, some, maybe topics I haven't covered before in my career. And then I watch a group of well-meaning leaders talk about things and circle back and go on tangents and go down rabbit holes. And then it's like, it seemed contagious. It's almost like they thought this is how
the next person and the next person.
Yeah. It's like, this is how leaders are supposed to talk, right?
Minutes, so I'm going to talk for 12 minutes.
When it would get to my turn, eventually it'd get to my turn to speak, and I'd probably share 5 topics in about 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And then everyone's looking at me like, that's it? That's all you got? And I'm like, yeah, do you have any questions on anything I shared? Well, no. Okay. Well, then we can move on. Right.
I'll tell you one of my favorite stories. And I love to tell the story because it's just so impactful and it aligns with everything you're saying. So we do these big dignitary at the airport. We have a ton of dignitaries come through. Well, we had a presidential one, or it was vice president, one of the two. And they'll have FBI, SWAT, counterterrorism teams and everybody come in. We were in this meeting and there's probably about 150 people in here. It's just this massive room. And this guy's getting up and talking about what he does. And you've probably been in the meeting before where they say, hey, here's who I am. This is what I do. I'll be over in this corner after the meeting. Come see me if we need to exchange information. And then the next person comes in and they say, hey, here's what I do. And so this guy gets up there and he's like, well, I don't really probably nobody's going to talk to me. And I just do this like it's kind of a solo operation. But he went on for 15 minutes. Nobody knew what was going on. Everyone's like, please shut this down. Well, right afterwards, it's so contrasting. It was so good. Right afterwards, they had a guy stand up and he goes, hey, I'm with the FBI SWAT counterintelligence or counterterrorism team. You know what I do. I'll be in the back corner. And that was it. That was the whole thing. And guess what? We knew exactly what he did.
Yep.
We knew where to go find him. Message received, done, not lost on us. And I'm like, that guy, if he can do that, that's what everybody should be doing. This meeting would be going so much better. And so that just kept coming when I was reading your book, that and there's a difference, SWAT guys and gals, there's a different mentality of, just tell me I'm going to get it done. I don't want to hear any fluff behind it. Right. And so I think that helps bring some of and you were in that world too.
Yeah. I was one of the breachers for our team. And I was briefly the assistant SWAT commander before I left that agency. But I think about like before we'd go hit a house, maybe we're serving like a narcotics warrant or something like that. And like the narcotics sergeant would get up there and talk about the history of the house and this and everything. And we're all just kind of waiting like, when is this done? Because none of this information is relevant to the task at hand. And then the SWAT commander would get up there, or the team leader would be like, all right, this is the house we're hitting. This is who's breaching. This is what we're doing. Any questions? And it's like, cool, great. So we were waiting for that first person to just grandstand a little bit, get up there, give their 15 minutes of fame, while we're waiting for the real orders.
Their validation of what they're worth.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you know what's interesting? So our courthouse in my hometown just got remodeled. And they got up there and they had the whole town meet around the square and they talked about it for like 2 hours. It's just this whole demonstration. But the guy who was remodeling it, he went into all these little details. And this is kind of what I find. If you're in the middle of all that and you know all the details, you're proud of your work, so you want to talk about it. And some people just go on and on and on. When I walked through there, honestly, I didn't notice much difference between before and after, right? But there's a lot of have done construction before in the past. There's a lot of behind the scenes and all that stuff. So they talk about it. For me, I just wanted to go, there's new paint here. This is here. You put Wi-Fi in, congratulations, like all this stuff. And so people want to do really good work, and they want to talk about the good work, even if they say they don't want to talk about it. But you got to figure out how to express that in a way. And if I want to know more, I'll ask. That's kind of the thing. If people want to know more, they'll ask. If not, get to the point and move on, I think is what your book is talking about. And so you don't lose the power behind what you're pushing forward.
I think you bring up a good point. I think a lot of people, they do want to share all this knowledge. And for them, it's very important, right? Because that's their job. That's their function. But we have to think about the other person's point of view. What's relevant to them?
Yeah.
And I think we miss that a lot of the time in our conversations, and we try to bring in everything that could possibly be relevant, or maybe even get ahead of some of these potential objections. I've had supervisors in the past to where this was an assistant chief. I'm thinking of a conversation. He's like, hey, we need to work on this project. I'm like, yeah, I agree. He's like, but it's important because of X, Y, and Z. I'm like, yeah, I agree. We need to work. And, it's really for us to do this. And I'm like, I just finally stopped talking. I'm like, why are we still rehashing? I told you I agreed 3 times, but he still felt like that need to over explain. And maybe it was some of that. Yeah, maybe it's that imposter syndrome you were talking about. It's like, well, do you really understand? I just said I agree. Let's move on. Like I can start working. I can start working on it right now if you like.
That's funny. All right, it's a great conversation so far. So let me keep moving down that path. Okay. I think it's chapter 9. Get in, get out, stay human.
Yes.
And I'll be honest, I probably failed at this tremendously in my career, just with my words. There's a lot of after I read your book, and I love this book. It's how to get to the damn point, and it's down to the point, and it's applications, and it's good stuff. And so, but let me talk about Brene Brown. Follow a lot of her stuff. She is excellent at the leadership field and understanding people.
Yes.
And she says, clear is kind, unclear is unkind, from the Dare to Lead book.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to add on, one of the worst toxic leadership traits is vagueness.
Yes.
Hey, Justin, that was crap. Do it again. Do better.
Well, what does do better mean?
What the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
And so I remember sitting in front of an FTO talking to his trainee, tear up the report, throw it away, and said, that was crap. Do better. And the trainee's going, what
specifically
was no
like, yeah.
And that's just, I mean, we're talking field level, but all the way up. You get a commander, you get a deputy chief, you get a chief of police, you get a city manager that starts barking that stuff, and there's no clear communication. How does that affect people? Tell me a little bit more about that. And then back to get in, get out, stay human.
Yeah. So, there's so many things to cover there. And you make me think, I literally just did a newsletter and a podcast on this specific topic. Newsletter's coming out tomorrow, and the podcast as well. But
hopefully tomorrow, by the time we have this edited, it may not be edited, but well, you'll see.
It'll already be out. It'll probably
be out.
I think because there's a lot of talk now about like connection, how do we make connection with people? Because I think there's this huge boom with AI and all the digital, like what's real, like people want to have more real conversations, right? So they're looking for ways to connect because they haven't been taught that in school. They haven't been taught the social intelligence skills. So there's a lot of great books coming out now.
I don't think COVID helped us out.
COVID, we don't even know the repercussions of that yet.
We're going to be finding out years.
Like 15 years is probably when we're really going to figure out how much damage that did to our society. But the connection aspect is we're always looking for more tricks or techniques to build rapport building or mirroring body language or this. And I teach a lot of that stuff, and I've been teaching it for years.
To validate you, there's so much like, well, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. And it's just all these tactics.
Yes. And I think there's too much of a focus on that because when it really comes down to it, no one ever says like, oh, he's a really great leader because he mirrors my body language, or she's a really great leader because she asks a lot of open-ended questions. Yeah. It's like, I know where I stand with him, or I never have to wonder if they're mad at me, or, they tell me exactly what they're thinking. It's clarity. It's removing uncertainty from the conversation allows connection to happen. Because if I'm saying all this vague nonsense, where do you go? You go up here and you're like, what does that mean? Are they mad at me? Are they, to
add to that, I teach this in class too, is if I walked in and said, hey, see me in my office, what do you think?
Oh my gosh. Worst case scenario.
But why do we always go to the negative? That's just where the human mind goes. So if you're a leader and you're vague, guess what? The mind is, to me, what I've experienced from people is it goes to the negative.
Yes.
You're going to think the worst case scenario. So just to validate what you're saying.
So how do you expect to build connection with someone when you're being vague? And we know it's human nature to go to the worst case scenario, to catastrophize. So when we speak in this vague, abstract language, we create a barrier to connection. So just like Brene Brown says, unclear is unkind, clear is kind. And I've even had some people come up to me after I've given some of these talks before, non-law enforcement, like civilian, and they're like, well, isn't it about being more polite? And I'm like, even Brene Brown talks about it. It's unkind to be unclear.
Yep.
And it creates a gap. So our job as leaders, if you want to build connection with someone, remove the uncertainty.
I like that. What you're talking about, I think it all comes down to as well as trust.
Yes.
Through authenticity. I think that's where people are missing the point. You can have all these tactics, you can do all this stuff. You may be really good at speaking to people a certain way, and people are going to be attracted to you for a myriad of reasons on how you lead and what you do. I may be in a different boat. We can go to the local public librarian, right? But there's people that are her audience, right? You have to be authentically you. That's how you're going to build trust.
Yes.
Not try to use tactics to get around who you are. I think that's really what the key is. People try to use tactics to get around. And there's also another side to that. What do we teach police officers? If you see danger, the human reaction is what? Run, fight, flight. Yep.
Yeah. And we're like run.
But what we do is we retrain developmental behaviors to, if we see right here and up, or go towards it, or protect, or whatever happens to be. So I do believe that there's training that you can do to enhance or better the behaviors that you have. As a leader, there's skills that you can do for that. But you still have to authentically come to the table as you, on top of those skills. That's what I would say. And people, I think, are scared to do that. Like I was telling at the beginning, there's people out there, imposter. Well, if I bring myself, people aren't going to like me. Well, tough. Don't be in a leadership position. I don't know what to tell you. Or realize, not everybody's going to like you, but they're not necessarily against you. A lot of people are in their own world.
You can respect someone and not like them.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I spent a lot of my career. Like, it was never my goal to be liked, but no one could say that they didn't respect my work ethic and my work product.
Yeah. I like that a lot. Okay, moving along. So you talk in the back of your book, you've got a list of frameworks and tools that you have. One of my favorite is the 10-word rule. Say it in 10 words. Yeah. In fact, I teach what's called the ACE approach. It's a problem-solving method: awareness, course of action, execution. It's real simple. I think we lack a lot of awareness in just the society as a whole, but leaders do. And so if you don't have that level of awareness, you can't create a good course of action, and then execution is poor, right? If it takes you more than, so what I used to tell people, if it takes you more than one sentence to state what the problem is, you're now stating the symptoms. You're not stating the problem, right? But you follow up with, it's the 10-word rule, which is along those same lines. So my question to you is, what's the first framework that you built out? And the second part of that question is, what's your favorite framework that you operate off of? What do you get the most requests from?
The first framework I built was the WAVE method.
Okay.
So that came up in my TEDx talk a couple of years ago. And
which, by the way, if you haven't seen it, go check his TEDx talk out. He does a fantastic job.
The suspect within, how to interrogate yourself. And so what I talk about in the TEDx talk is, so it's all based on statement analysis. And for anyone that doesn't know what statement analysis, it's a law enforcement tool to determine the truthfulness and accuracy of written and spoken word. And I accidentally found out that I could use it on myself. And quick story on it. I was down in Houston, Texas. I was down there for like St. Patrick's Day weekend. I parked my truck with the valet on a Friday. On Sunday, when I get my truck has been keyed from nose to tail on the passenger side.
I think you mentioned that in here too.
Yeah, I mentioned it in there. It's in the TED talk as well. And I'm not happy about that. Clearly, no one would be happy.
Anybody who would be happy about that, yeah.
But I'm writing a statement for the insurance company, and I drove my truck to Houston. I gave my truck to the valet. At the end of the weekend, when I got my truck, the truck was damaged. And so my verbiage changed from possessive to distancing language. Yeah. And it hit me in the middle of writing it. I stopped writing, and I was like, how'd I go to distancing language? I'm like, because I don't want it anymore. Now that it's damaged, I don't want it anymore. And so part of statement analysis is picking up on verb and pronoun changes. And so that was the light bulb that went off to go, okay, how else can I use this on myself as a self-development tool? And there's a lot of different categories of words within statement analysis. And I'll just stick to one. I identify three, but the biggest one that's the most impactful are the stop action verbs.
Okay.
And these are words such as try, started, plan to, meant to, want to, need to, love to. And I joke about it here in the South. We say fixing to, right?
I'm fixing to.
I'm fixing to.
Yep. Said that many times, heard it many times.
But all of those words imply a level of failure.
Yep.
You know, I'm going to try to eat better. It
gives you an out.
It does. It gives you a plan B. It gives you that escape hatch rather than saying, I will do this. I am going to do this. And every once in a while, I have someone challenge that. It's like, well, this is how we all talk. You know, this is normal language. So, okay.
Well, keep getting the same thing you're getting.
Yeah, you're going to keep doing the same thing. But the challenge I give to people is, okay, well, go home and tell your spouse, I'll try to be faithful to you. Or maybe I'll plan to be faithful. Yeah, that's not going to go over well. The only way we'll handle those statements, I will be faithful. I am going to be.
Yep.
But why would we talk about our aspirations and goals with that same level of failure? And so that's one of the big pieces. The WAVE method was the first framework I made. It ended up in the TED Talk, and it felt relevant to put in the book as well.
Awesome. So the WAVE was the first one. What's the one you get the most requests from, or the like a fan favorite?
The point why context.
Okay. Yep.
And so it's super simple, and it's really easy for people to grasp, because I think most people, we speak in reverse. We give all the context up front, then we give a why, and then maybe we sprinkle in the point at the end. It could be something like, hey, I was having a conversation the other day, Chris, and, it brought up, a meeting that we had about 6 months ago, and there was this topic that came up, and, kind of fell off the shelf, but leadership really wants us to implement this. But, long story short,
sorry.
Yeah, too late. And it's like, we're starting with all of this context and the person you're talking to has no idea where this conversation is going. We've all been there.
Yes.
We've all been on the other side. Maybe we've created those conversations. Yeah, where are we going? Rather than saying, hey, Chris, we need to talk about Project X. Right? Now we're all on the same page. You got your file folders going. It's like, okay, here's why we need to talk about Project X. We need to implement this within the next 30 days. And then only if the context is relevant, then we can give some extra detail. Well, why are we talking about this now? Oh, well, originally it was brought up 6 months ago and it never got handled, and leadership had a meeting last week, and so now they want it done within the next 30 days.
But if I'm sitting there and you say we need to talk about this and this is why, and I go, you're absolutely right, we'll get on it, and walk away. We just saved us a bunch of time.
Maybe we don't need the context. Yeah.
Oh, and I might know.
Got it.
100%. Like you said earlier, I got it.
Yeah,
got it.
Don't get me lost in the context. I already agreed to it. Let's go. Let's move forward.
Well, and so I love that, because it also kind of feeds into the chapter 9 thought of, give the context and then be relatable to people.
Yes.
Which I think is one of the most powerful things. I wish I would have had this when I was leading people. This would have helped me out significantly. Why did it take you so long to write it? But in all reality, tell me just a little bit more about that connective piece.
Yeah. And for the people that have heard me speak but haven't read the book, there's an assumption that getting to the point is rude, or you're just trying to speed through a conversation efficiently. And so it's about, well, you don't want us to be polite. It's about being super direct. That's not what it's about. Let's get to what the issue is first, right? The old adage is that, like, positive sandwich that we've been taught in communication in school. It's like, well, give them a little bit of positive up front, then the correction, then some positive on the back end.
So you and I go teach for Caruth still.
Yes.
And I don't know how many times I've heard that in those classes.
It's nonsense. And it's infuriating, because you think about it. We all know that inauthentic conversation. Hey, how was your weekend? How's the kids? How's the family? The boss comes into your office and you're like, what did I do? Why are you asking me all this stuff that you never asked me about before? Hey, that report you just submitted, yeah, it's got some corrections that you need to work on. But keep up the good work. We kind of throw on that heel of the bread that nobody wants to eat anyway, right?
Yeah.
So this positive sandwich is nonsense. And rather than just saying, hey, here's what we need to talk about, have a solution about that, talk about that. And then when you hang around afterwards and you're like, hey, how's the family? You guys do anything this weekend? How else can I support you on the job? Any resources I can give you?
I think to validate that, it's kind of like, we got done with business and I'm sticking around now just because I care about you.
Yes.
It's not, I'm here to build influence with you to get this done. It's, we got it done. Now I'm sticking around.
Now we can stick around, and now we can have a real conversation. And when you hang around afterwards, that's a more authentic conversation. And,
like that.
And guess what? Your team is going to take the corrections in a better way, because they know it's not a drive-by, like, hey, do this, and, oh, keep up the good work, and you're out.
Yep.
But we have a lot of these emotions that come up with these difficult conversations. We don't even want to have them. And so we come into them with this nervous energy and feel like we have to pad it up front with all this positive BS. But we all know it. We've been on the receiving end of that when the boss is giving you all this positive.
Just want to the point, like,
no, hurry up. Where did I mess up? Tell me where I messed up so we can move on.
100%. Right? Yeah. The butt word.
Yes. Right? Same concept.
I like how you're doing this, and I like how you're doing this, but this, everything before the but just
deleted.
Gone. Yeah. So it's the same concept.
Same exact concept.
Love it. All right. If someone were to pick up this book, how fast could they see improvement?
I had someone give me feedback that read this. They're in a sales position. I won't list the company because they are related to law enforcement without being law enforcement. But she was telling me, she's like, the next conversation I had after reading your book, I made a sale.
Nice.
She just reached out.
And she attributed it to?
She did, 100%. We were talking on Zoom.
Language and what you got here.
I told her while we're talking on Zoom, I'm like, I should be recording this conversation because this is the best testimonial I could ever have. Because she's like, it was directly from your book. It was a customer that I hadn't heard from in a few months. And I sent them a very direct email. They responded and we signed a contract. And I'm like,
beautiful.
I'm like, let's say that again. I'm going to hit record this time.
Without manufacturing. It's so hard. Because I've had so many of those conversations. I'm like, oh, I wish I would have recorded. But it's a funny thing when you hit the record button sometimes.
It does kind of make people a little nervous.
Yeah, it takes the energy out. I don't know why. But
I was like, wow, what a great feedback.
Yes.
And then now she's trying to bring me in to do some consulting for their company, train up the rest of the sales team. So I'm like, let's do it.
100%. All right. So this is your first book?
It is.
Should we be expecting another book?
I would say no time soon. I got some advice about not diluting what you're putting out there. And because this has now become kind of the brand, you know, with the newsletter, the Damn Point, the podcast is called The Damn Point. Everything is around that now. But I do have a book on the shelf, so to speak. Working title is Lessons Learned from Horrible Bosses. And that's going to be about this thick, right? You know,
I could probably just...
I have learned more in my career from the bad leaders than I have from the good ones. And I think that's a great lesson for newer leaders out there, is that there's still lessons to be learned, even from the people that you don't admire.
I would 100% agree with that. You learn, it's like learning from your losses. You learn more from that than your wins, right?
It sticks more too, because there's some emotional baggage to all of it too.
When I talk to people, I go, do you remember the first time you scraped your elbow or you got a bruise or something? And they're like, I don't know. Well, do you remember your first heartbreak? Do you remember what?
They're like, yes, I remember where I was, what happened.
It was in the middle of Texas summer heat. We were sweating. This was happening, you know, like, whatever it happened to be, because we attach ourselves to emotions so much. And that's where some of those powerful lessons can come from. All right. We are at about 30 minutes. So a few minutes over where we originally planned, even though this is not a timed meeting. Where can people find this? Where can they find you?
Yeah, the book is on Amazon. It made bestseller within a short time frame, which I'm pretty proud of. My personal website is justinwatherton.com. But I also work running a company, Proactive Leadership. You're familiar with that. And so we're at Proactive.
I've been through their training before with you guys.
Yeah. So proactiveleader.com is where we're pushing out most of the law enforcement training. So those are the two websites, but Amazon's where to find it.
Very good. And check us out at commandstandard.com. You can also find us on Instagram, YouTube, all the stuff. And Justin, I appreciate this conversation. Looking forward to many more. I think we're going to talk about working in the future here. And if you get a chance, go check this book out. It's definitely worth it. And if you really like the book, contact Justin, get a hold of him, have him come in and work with you guys. All right, Justin, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.